What's up guys, it's Ed from TechSource and this is Jack the Ripper. I have a lot to say about this PC because not only does it look awesome, but it's packing some serious power. I also have mixed feelings about the case, so I'll be sharing my opinions on that, and also we're going to be diving into the gaming benchmarks, temps, overclocking performance, and we're also going to be looking at the productivity side of the PC because using it for only gaming is pretty stupid, to be honest. So grab your lube and strap in, and let us begin the video. Alright, so this thing is packing the 1950X, which is a 16-core processor. We also got 32 gigs of RGB RAM from g.skill, the MSI X399 Gaming Pro Carbon motherboard, and two EVGA GTX 1080 Ti's in SLI. I already mentioned in the previous video why I didn't go with two Vega 64 cards, and that was simply because I couldn't get my hands on a second one. So instead I decided to reunite AMD and Nvidia into a glorious PC build, so I went with two 1080 Ti's instead. I was able to overclock the 1950X to 4.0 GHz on just 1.25 volts thanks to the awesome cooling power of the Master Liquid 240 from Cooler Master and the overclocking capability of the MSI Gaming Pro motherboard. That's one of the reasons why I chose the MSI X399 over other brands, the reliability and the support for easy overclocking. The extra features that came with the motherboard was a plus, like RGB lighting, 3D printable heatsink covers, 3 turbo M.2 slots with shields, and you also get an Intel Wi-Fi card. The cables I'm using this time are from InSourced Customs, and I've actually used them a few times before. The thing I like the most about their cables compared to other brands is the cable clips that come pre-applied, and also they have a much wider selection of colors to choose from. Other places would have only one shade of color, whereas InSourced Customs has actually several to choose from. And that's how I was able to get a similar orange to match the rest of the build, but I'll drop a link to these exact cables if you guys want to check it out. The custom backplates, fan grills, SLI bridge, and the SSD covers are all from V1 Tech, and as always, they never disappoint. I'll drop a link below if you guys want to check those out as well. And finally, powering this entire build is a 1000 watt power supply from EVGA, which I skinned in orange D-brand skins to match the build. Alright, so the case I'm using is called Conquer and it's from Cougar. At first glance, this is a dope looking case, definitely something different compared to other traditional towers in the PC market, which is what makes this case stand out. It's also going to cost you $300, so already it's catering to the enthusiasts out there or people with money. Aside from the cool design, the other things I really like about the case is the build quality and the materials. Cougar definitely didn't cheap out. It's got an all aluminum alloy frame with CNC machining for every design detail. The two tempered glass panels are also a nice plus. I also love the extra space and room for expandability. You guys can fit up to a 360mm radiator up top and a 280mm radiator in the front, which is awesome for water cooling. You also get this tray to install one hard drive or two SSDs on, and then you get two extra spaces on the actual frame to install two more hard drives or SSDs if you like. Okay, now the things I didn't like about the case. The Cougar logo on the side panel is too large. I get that brands want to represent their cases, but a simple logo in the front of the case would have been enough. Or at the very least, make the text smaller on the sides. Aesthetically, it's not pleasing. Also, the orange side frame was very difficult to remove. Originally, I wanted to paint over that in a different shade of orange so that it stays consistent with the rest of the build, but it requires a special Torx wrench, which I didn't have, and I was not about to waste my time trying to figure it out and buy one. Unfortunately, I was on a time constraint. For a case that was stated it was designed for modders, I expected a traditional sized Torx wrench, or at the very least, they should have included one with their case. Obviously guys, if this was my own personal PC, I would definitely take that extra time and custom paint it, take it apart and do all that stuff, because you guys know how anal I get with small things like that, especially for my own personal PC. The fact is, this PC is going to be taken apart and stored in the shelf, so that is why I didn't spend that extra time. That's also one of the reasons why I didn't use a ruler to cut straight lines for the power supply dbrand skin. The power supply is also in a weird spot. If you want to disconnect the power cable and move your PC, it's going to be difficult reaching underneath there because there's a shroud that goes over the edge of the power supply, making it difficult to reach. Also, if you're using standard size for the power supply cables, unfortunately they're going to be too short to reach some parts of the motherboard, specifically for the CPU power and for the graphics cards. Fortunately, I was able to select the correct cable length on InSourced Customs so that I got the perfect size. Cable management was probably the hardest part, simply because the case doesn't come with any cutouts to help you out with. Instead, you get a few cable clips to help you out, which isn't enough. So what I did was I used a channel raceway to hide majority of the cables near the top and a bunch of Velcro straps to tie the rest of the cables together while maintaining a clean and aesthetically pleasing route for the cables. I did my best to avoid overlapping cables as much as possible, and I think it came out beautifully, especially considering the fact that I had 2 GPUs and 2 SSDs. That's a lot of extra cables to connect. Overall, I'm a fan of the case. It's built really well, it looks freaking awesome, and it's got tons of expandability. This is the type of case you would buy if you want to separate your PC from the rest. Alright, let's talk performance. So first up, we got Firestrike benchmark scores, and for some reason it keeps scoring around 23,000, and that's with the overclock. I was curious, so I checked the top scores with the 1950X, and the numbers are so scattered, ranging from 17,000 all the way up to 30,000. I mean, this guy was using 2 EVGA 1080 Ti's and the 1950X just like me, but he only scored 17,372. It has to do with drivers, optimization, and other factors, but that's just the score I got, so I'm sharing it with you guys. Rendering, however, is where this PC really shines. It's perfect for CPU-intensive tasks like exporting video. It's currently the fastest PC on the list, rendering out a 3-minute 4K file in 9 minutes and 29 seconds. However, once overclocked, I was able to shave off an extra minute and a half for a total render time of 8 minutes and 2 seconds. When it came to gaming, honestly it did okay. With 2 1080 Ti's I expected higher numbers, but it can handle 4K games without problem. A 7700K would have given you noticeably higher frames than the 1950X. For GTA 5 fully maxed out, I was getting around 77 FPS on average, but once I overclocked the CPU and both graphics cards, I saw an average of 4 FPS increase. Max settings on Doom using OpenGL got an average of 88 FPS with a nice 7 FPS bump after overclocking. PUBG was also playable over 60 FPS, however I had to knock the settings down to high instead of ultra. After overclocking, I saw a nice 8 FPS boost, bumping the average frames to 73 on high settings. Ghost Recon Wildlands is a very demanding game, so I had to lower the settings as well down to very high instead of ultra in order to get that 71 FPS average. However, even with the overclock, we didn't see much gain, only a 2 FPS average increase. Battlefield 1 saw some nice average FPS in 4K gaming, over 100 in maxed out settings, with a tiny 2 FPS increase after overclocking. Temps were really great during full load, even after overclocking. The CPU capped at 67 degrees during full load, and that's with the overclock. The PC didn't experience any throttling as well. However, I do want to mention that I did add 3 extra fans near the top for a push and pull configuration. However, I'm certain that this didn't affect temperatures tremendously because afterwards I removed the top 3 fans and only saw a 3-degree difference. It is an open air chassis, so unfortunately you are gonna hear the fan noise. There isn't any noise dampening material or noise isolation, so with the PC on full load, you get around 55 decibels, which isn't too loud, but it's definitely noticeable in a quiet environment. And finally, let's talk overclocking. So the EVGA FTW3 cards come factory overclocked already, so I wasn't able to push it that much. I was only able to squeeze another 25 MHz from each card and 450 MHz on the memory clock, pushing the card up to 1911 MHz on full load and 6055 MHz on the memory clock. And that pretty much wraps up this video. If you guys didn't like it, feel free to dislike, but if you did like it, please consider dropping a like to show your support, because making videos like these takes weeks to plan and build and especially shoot. Shooting a video like this takes multiple days. So dropping a simple like really shows me and tells me that you guys enjoy these types of content, and I can continue doing them every single month on the channel. Every single part used in the PC will be linked below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love your faces. I will see you in the next one.